Good evening, folks. Charles Chatterley again. Tonight's speech, funding your retirement. As you look around in your community, you'll probably notice some elderly people out there, age 65 and up, even though they'll tell you they're not elderly. But did you ever wonder how they pay for things, how they've planned to get to where they are, how they can buy a car, how they can give their grandkids gifts at Christmas and on their birthdays and send them checks in the mail, and pay for their medications and stuff? I have. And then I asked a few, and they told me. I'll share some of their ideas with you and some ideas that can avoid ending up not being able to pay for the things you need. But a growing trend is that many of them can't afford to do this as easily as they could even just a few years ago, 4 or 5 years ago. Costs on everything have gone up drastically, from healthcare to your average everyday life things in life. And not everybody's going to have the ability or will or drive to do what my late grandfather was able to. You know, he served 20 years in the United States Air Force, retired after that, worked 2 more jobs concurrently for another 20 years, got 2 more pensions from, one from each of them, for a total of 3 pensions that he got each and every month to earn himself a good income when he decided to finally retire. It gave him the ability to, have a house here and in Florida, and also leave behind something to each of his 7 children, each one of my aunts and uncles, when he finally passed a few years ago at the age of 81. But just like you should, many people have planned for retirement. They usually start early so that they can amass enough money to live on till they're into their golden years. So, the need to start has never really been more important than it is today. It seems like things are getting more expensive at almost a seemingly exponential rate. Today, I'd like to discuss some of the reasons. One of the biggest reasons why you should, and that as you look around in your community, you might not know the percentage of them, but according to the Kaiser Family Foundation, the amount of folks age 65 and older that are living at or below the poverty level is a staggering 10% of all the elderly, which equates to about 4.5 million people nationwide. The poverty level is $19,055 and under. Not a lot of money. That's like what a kid in 16, 17 years old gets at Burger King for his first job. He doesn't have anywhere near the amount of things to pay for that the elderly do. So you can see how that can be a strain on a person's life. With that said, it obviously brings the need to take some action and put some money aside now for those later years. It's obviously very difficult to do all that stuff on less than $20,000 a year. The effects of that problem are that people need and can't really afford to pay for the things that they need. There are other options to fund some of these things, like Social Security, Medicaid, stuff like that. But I don't know if you follow politics, but these programs seem to be losing money every few years, and there's money going missing. So the fact that it may not be there by the time you or I get to the retirement age is a pretty likely scenario in today's world, which is unfortunate. We all pay into it, but there's a good chance it may not actually be there when we get there. The other problem is you have people living longer, so there are more people drawing from this money, which leads to things like, shortage of money for medications, food. Feeding America is an organization that feeds through programs like Meals on Wheels and things like that. Right now they're feeding some 7 million seniors that are 60 and up, because they are either at or below the poverty level, or just above. Maybe they're at 25,000 a year or 30,000 a year, but they still don't have enough to fund everything that they need to. But I've included a slide that I'll show you how to save $1 million, starting now. It gives you an example, and one of the things that you need to do is figure out how long you want it to take you to save that $1 million. And that will tell you how much you need to put aside. Now, if you have 40 years to save, it's only about $180 a month, or just shy of $180 a month. I think it's 179, and you can retire with $1 million. 40 years from now. If you've only got 20 years, that's a little less than $1,400, and that'll allow you, same thing, be a millionaire when you retire. But with that said, it's obvious that you can see some of the reasons why you would need to put that money aside and actually need money to live on when you go actually do retire. In order to figure this out, like I said, you need to figure out how long you want it to take you, and then you have to figure out what you're going to do to save that money. So there's a couple of really easy ways to do it. The first one being if you have an employer that has a 401k, that's a phenomenal option. It allows you to take your pre-tax money and invest it in stocks, bonds, mutual funds, but it takes that money before you even see it, before you can get taxed on it. So you end up in a little bit lower tax bracket on top of everything else. So the other real nice benefit is that a lot of companies match your contribution. So if you contribute 6%, your company matches at 6%. Now you're contributing 12%, but it only costs you 6%. So you have some free money there, which is nice. Another great benefit to that money is that you can take a loan on it. Say 10 years from now, you need to put an addition on the house and you've got 50 grand in there. Well, you can borrow 25 of that and put the addition on, or put a sunroom on, or whatever. And you don't have to, you'll have to pay tax on it, on the money that you withdraw, unless it's for like a home improvement or something like that, or medical bills, and then you don't. But when you pay yourself back, the interest that you're paying on goes to you. So you're multiplying the money that you're earning in the long run. The other great thing is that it's a paycheck deduction. So you don't have to worry about how you're going to pay the mortgage, how you're going to pay the rent, how you're going to pay your car payment after you try and figure out how you're going to save for retirement, because it comes out of your check, you never see it, and you budget everything else around what you have left as a net number. And then you figure out how to pay the rest of your bills. If you're not eligible for a 401k, another great option is the IRA, which a big advantage to that is you're not limited to the investment options of the company that you work for. You don't have to follow their regimented plan for how you invest that money. You can kind of choose your own, or you can have a financial planner kind of choose it for you as well. You have the difference between you have a choice between a Roth IRA and a traditional IRA. I have included a slide in the PowerPoint that shows you some of the differences between a Roth and a traditional IRA. The major advantage to the Roth IRA is that if you have a sizable account, you can leave your heirs a tax-free income. And then the other thing is kind of hidden into that is that high earners who cannot contribute directly to a Roth IRA can contribute to a traditional IRA and then convert over to a Roth, reaping the benefits of that Roth later on. A little bit of a way to hide from it, from some of that tax money. But in some of these closing statements, I refer back to what Thomas Edison once said: "Waste is worse than loss." There is a time coming when every person who lays claim to ability will keep the question of waste before him. The scope of thrift is limitless. So, start saving early, and you will realize the payoffs later. When you get to the age of retirement, let it not be said that you tried, but rather that you accomplished.